Let's bring into the conversation our longtime friend, legal analyst Neama Rahmani, to help us make sense of this. He joins me. Neama, good to see you here. I think it's safe to say that this struck many people by surprise here. It seems that the crux of the conviction being overturned and vacated is the appointment of a special prosecutor well after the charges were dropped. That special prosecutor convened a grand jury, and they were back to square one here. Neama, what's going on?
What happened here, Andrew, is the Illinois Supreme Court said that Kim Foxx, the former prosecutor, and Jussie Smollett had a deal, and that deal was to drop the charges. Now, normally when you're a prosecutor and you have a deal, there is a plea bargain. Someone will plead guilty, and in exchange, the state will offer a lesser charge or a reduced sentence. That's how it works. But in this particular case, the charges were dropped entirely, which was shockingly I won't even say slap on the wrist, because it was something less than that when he could have been charged with a serious misdemeanor or even more. So in this particular case, because Smollett forfeited his bail and did a paltry 15, 16 hours of community service, when the new prosecutor, Dan Webb, picked up the case, the Supreme Court of Illinois found that that breached the original agreement. It's eerily similar to what happened with Bill Cosby. Again, none of this means that Jussie Smollett is innocent or Bill Cosby is innocent. In Cosby's case, the former district attorney told Cosby he wasn't going to charge him. Again, no plea bargain, no written agreement. Of course, Cosby then made some incriminating statements during a deposition. He admitted to drugging women, and a new DA came and prosecuted him. So really, this is a dismissal on procedural grounds. I'm very disappointed that Kim Foxx offered this deal and that the Supreme Court of Illinois interpreted it as an ironclad deal that really prevented him from being prosecuted again.
Yeah, and to your point about his alleged guilt or innocence here, Mike Tobin has a statement in from that special prosecutor, Dan Webb. Quote, "Make no mistake," he says, "today's ruling has nothing to do with Mr. Smollett's innocence." So this doesn't exonerate him or bear on his guilt, correct?
Not at all. And let's not forget, Smollett pushed this case to trial, was convicted, and even after the trial, really engaged in an embarrassing manner at sentencing after the sentencing, maintained his innocence, even though there was an avalanche of avalanche of evidence that he was not innocent and was in fact guilty, including the testimony of the co-conspirators, text messages, plenty of digital evidence showing that this was all a hoax.
So, Neama, if you could lay the blame at someone here, is it at Dan Webb? Is it at Kim Foxx, the Cook County State's attorney? Who would you lay the blame on?
Well, primarily Jussie Smollett, but
Sure.
can't really blame the criminals, right? It has to be Kim Foxx here, who took someone who really staged this elaborate crime. It cost Chicago PD countless man hours and law enforcement hours and hundreds of thousands of dollars. This was no laughing matter. They took this seriously. And for what reason, Andrew? This was someone who wanted attention, wanted more money and sympathy from his show Smollett. So that is not a reason to report a fake crime under any circumstances.
So, correct me if I'm wrong here, but Kim Foxx dropped the initial 16 counts of disorderly conduct. Now, was it her decision, after there was a lot of backlash to that decision, to appoint a special prosecutor, or was it someone else entirely? That's what I'm not connecting here.
Well, it was her decision. And, Dan Webb, very well respected former federal prosecutor there in Illinois. I mean, he's handled lots of cases, lots of experience. So she stepped aside, and rightfully so. And I'm glad she's no longer going to be the prosecutor in Cook County, because it was a terrible decision at the time. And unfortunately, it was too late to unwind it.
Neama, I also wanted to ask, too, about the history of this. You and I have talked so much about some of these instances and some of these cases where either the prosecutors or the judge makes a fatal error, and it really renders the original conviction or penalty moot here. If you were trying this case, what errors could you have foreseen to avoid something like this?
Hard, because we're really in sort of uncharted waters, and Cosby is a recent example But again, you don't typically see cases like this where there's not a prosecution without some sort of written agreement. There are handshake deals that happen in types of cases. Everything's spelled out. We're going to discuss the charges, and in return, the defendant is going to do X, Y, and Z. Again, not what happened here, which was part of a big problem.
All right, Neama Rahmani, as always, can't thank you enough, Neama, and we'll definitely chat soon.
Thank you. Thanks very much, Andrew.